Yo, what's up, guys? Shake and Bake back, and this is the start of what I would like to be doing as a new series for at least this year. I don't know if I would like to do it for multiple years. We'll see how it goes this year, and I want to see how the feedback is on episode 1. So if you like this series, you like the thought behind this, and you want to get involved in this series, then definitely be sure to like the video and comment below. That always helps me to do more. I've tried different things and tried things out like this, and this is going to be the first of my fantasy football series that I'm going to call Game Day. That's just what I'm going to call it. As simple as that, Game Day. And we'll record these on Monday nights or Mondays, and I'll upload them before Monday Night Football because I just like to talk about fantasy football. I love fantasy sports. Fantasy football is at the top of my list. I may not be the best. I may not know everything about it, but I just love to talk fantasy football. I can go on for hours. I'm not going to do that, though. I'm just going to talk for, I don't know how long. I don't know. We're just going to see how it goes. And this episode is all going to be about pre-draft stuff. My draft is next Monday, so I'll probably do a thing after the draft, and I'll probably upload next week's video about who I got in my other week. I only do one league, so nobody, please don't ask me to build a league with subscribers and stuff like that. I do a league with my close buddies who are very, very active and go on all the time just because I like that. I don't like having multiple leagues because then you're rooting for multiple guys, and I don't like that at all. But I will definitely, I'm going to try and keep it, these episodes as unbiased as possible about my team, and I'll pretty much talk about guys I like, guys I don't like, guys who had big weeks, guys I think it could be sleepers in the future. And right now, in this episode, I want to talk about just some guys that I like heading into the draft, depending on what size your team is and stuff like that. And we're just going to get into it right now. We're going to start talking about who I like. And the first guy I'm going to talk about for a little bit, not going to spend too much time on him, Adrian Peterson. I absolutely love him. He's easily my favorite player. I've had him for about 5 years straight. I've kept him through thick and thin, and I'm keeping him again this year. I really like him. If you have a number 1 pick, he is the guy. I just think he is a monster. He cannot be stopped. And you saw that last year as he came off of the injury and he almost got the rushing record. Just insane year. I think he's going to have another good year. I'm not sure if he's going to be as good as last year, but he is a safe number 1 pick. I can say that. I think he's a beast. Absolutely loved him. Another player who I also had last year was Ray Rice. So I guess we're talking about running backs to start off. And my team last year was stacked at running back wise. I managed to pick him with, I think, the 4th or 5th pick, I think, because I had AP from a keeper from the year before, which was nice. But Ray Rice didn't have a Ray Rice season, we'll say. And a lot of people were saying Doug Martin was a guy who was a better version of Ray Rice, it seems like. And that I might agree with that, because Ray Rice didn't look like himself as much last year as he had the year before and the year before that, where he killed it. Where last year, they didn't run the ball as much. They chose to throw a lot. There were some games where he had really great games, but I was not a fan. I probably would not be taking him as the 3rd overall running back this year. I think Doug Martin is a guy who definitely could surpass him. I think there are definitely other guys out there who are better than him, but it's close. He's definitely in the top 5, but I'm a little hesitant on picking him again, even though the Ravens' pass offense has gotten considerably better worse. Oh, almost messed that one up. With Anquan Bolden leaving, they lost Dennis Pitta, and I don't see them having a great throw game this year. But they're going to have to run the ball, it seems like. Another guy I do want to talk about, and I'm pretty much getting away guys who I've had before and I don't recommend going after. Eli Manning is a no-go. Now, last year in fantasy, I never have had Eli Manning, and I was absolutely devastated by the Patriots' loss in the Super Bowl. And Eli Manning played so well. He played so well in the playoffs. So I figured, you know what, maybe this was his time. Maybe he had finally put behind him his regular season, which was mediocre in the past. And no, I was completely wrong. He played very mediocre through times this season. He had one stretch where he threw for, I think it was 170 yards over, like, less than that for like 3 games. So he threw for 170, like 150, and like 120 in like 3 games. No touchdowns, a few interceptions, and that killed me. Right there, that was 3 straight losses in crunch time, and because of that, I didn't make the playoffs, which this was my worst season because of him at the quarterback position, and I really needed a quarterback. Last year was rough, and of course, last year was a year that, thank goodness, a bunch of quarterbacks bloomed into shape. Andrew Luck, I really liked him. Russell Wilson, I am a huge Russell Wilson fan. I'll talk about him in a little bit. Colin Kaepernick, RG3. These 4 guys came out of nowhere. Roethlisberger, he had a decent season. So did Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco obviously had a decent season. He really came out of his shell and was a much better player. I mean, they won the Super Bowl. He was the Super Bowl MVP. He killed it. But I'm not a fan of Joe Flacco, as I said. They lost a lot of parts. I am a fan of Russell Wilson, though. Strong Seahawks team. While I'm saying Russell Wilson, I also say Marshawn Lynch is a big guy. ESPN, I will link this cheat sheet below that I love. Every year I print out one of these. I always highlight guys who I like, guys I don't like in different colors, and pretty much guys who I'll take if their value is there in a late round. I also mark off a couple things like that. Those are 3 things I like. Guys that you can take just because they've been sitting there for so long and you think they've got enough potential for points. And then guys who you want them, you like them, and guys you don't like. Those are 3 good categories to sort by. So if you're a new guy to this, definitely print out the sheet and try that out. Maybe try listening to some actual fantasy podcasts. Those always help out. But back to what I was saying, Marshawn Lynch, I really like him. They're rated him 9th. I'm not a big fan of that. I think he's better than some of the guys up there, even though CJ Spiller, they said they're going to give him the ball till he, like, collapses out there. So that's going to be a lot of touches for him. He's definitely going to produce as well. But I really like Marshawn Lynch. I like what Seattle's got going. I think they're one of the top teams in the NFC, and I really see a lot going forward for them. So I like him. I like Russell Wilson. I like his passing ability. It was very, very good. I think he's the best rookie passer out there. Or not rookie, sophomore, I guess now, because they are sophomores now. Out of the Luck, Wilson, and RG3, the 3 guys. I'm a big fan of RG3. I think he's going to have a good year coming back off injury. Obviously, injury concerns are kind of big, which is one reason why I like Russell Wilson. He didn't get injured in his first year. He does run. He's a mobile quarterback. And I feel like they don't run it as much as they maybe could, but I like that because it keeps the chance of injury down. Another guy I really don't like, Tony Romo. The Dallas Cowboys just cannot seem to get their act together. Stay away from him. I've never liked him unless he's there late. And I also want to say, if you're new to drafting and if you're drafting in a snake format, this is one big tip. You can really wait on quarterbacks. There are so many good quarterbacks this year. If you're in a 8 to 12 team league, even if a 12 team league, you're still going to get a quality quarterback pretty much no matter what. There's a lot of really, really good quarterbacks. There's about 10 really, like, you're going to do well with these guys. So, I mean, obviously you don't want to wait too long, but you don't want to be drafting a quarterback in, like, the first round or second round unless it's Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, or Tom Brady. Or even I'll throw Cam Newton in there. I'm not as much of a big Matt Ryan fan, even though he can light it up. He can throw the ball really well. But I think those top 5 guys right there, yeah, you would take those guys early. Those guys are so dynamic, so special. Now, let me talk about tight ends and wide receivers for a little bit going into the draft, because this is something that I would like to touch on, and then I'll touch on defenses as well. I don't want to keep these too long, but I would like to make these a decent size. So for tight ends, I want to talk about the Rob Gronkowski injury. They haven't decided whether they're going to put him on the PUP, which is the physically unable to perform list, which keeps them out, I think, 6 weeks. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if it's 6 or 8, but it's a long time. It's a lot of games to miss, but you would get him back for crunch time of the season, right before you got to pick up and you got to get some wins going into the playoffs, which is usually generally weeks 15, 14, sometimes week 16. It depends. For different leagues, it's different. And I just said leagues, by the way. I don't know why. But I really think you got to get one of these tight ends. These are guys you have to take second, third round, sometimes the fourth round. It depends. But once they start flying off the shelves, they are gone. It's like an Xbox One. As soon as those things come out, they're going to be gone. Same with the PS4s. You really have to get them early. Jimmy Graham, always, he's going to be consistent to put up. Sean Payton's going to be back this year. I love that. I really like the fact of how good they're going to be. Drew Brees, I love him. Great quarterback. So a lot of good things to say about him. Jason Witten put up solid numbers, but they don't always get him the touchdowns. I had him last year as well. He fought through injuries at times, and that was kind of concerning. Tony Gonzalez, good guy, you need a solid tight end. I can't stress this enough. Vernon Davis, I think he's going to have a big year, very poised. because now they lost Crabtree out in San Fran. So I think he's going to be a guy to definitely take a look at. But besides that, man, oof, it's looking rough. Dustin Keller, get him off the list. He tore like everything in his leg possible. He tore like an ACL, an MCL, and like strained a few more things. I don't know if he's going to be done for the season, I would assume. But I would assume he's done for a while, in fact. Another couple guys I like, but I'm not. They still got some work to do. Colby Fleener as a late sleeper. I think he's got a lot of work to be done. Antonio Gates, man, I don't know, man. He's always good, but I think San Diego as a whole has fallen off. But fantasy-wise, I guess he's a decent tight end in a very, very thin field. Tight ends are always very thin. Then you go to wide receivers. Calvin Johnson is the clear-cut #1. I'm a huge Brandon Marshall guy. I wanted to draft him last year, just missed by one spot, and I paid for it. Vincent Jackson was the guy I had last year who I got instead of him, and yikes. Vincent Jackson, Mr. Flip-Flop. He'll have a game where he'll get 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then next week, 2 catches for 12 yards. This guy is so flip-floppy. You cannot depend on him. I think he's very talented, so if he's falling back late in your draft, and he's sitting there in maybe a 5th or a 6th round somehow, I don't know why, then maybe you could go get him. But besides that, and he falls down, he's very, very flip-floppy, and I don't like him at all. I really don't. But overall, there's a lot of good receivers. It's a pretty deep field. I mean, you can pretty much find a lot of guys. I like Dwayne Bowie. I think Kansas City's moving in the right direction. Hakeem Nicks is a guy, you got to watch out for them injuries. The injuries really got to him. Anquan Boldin, I think he's going to have a quality year with the 49ers. I mean, they really have to throw the ball, and he's one of the options out there, and they don't have Randy Moss anymore. They don't really have a deep threat at all, so I do like him. Larry Fitzgerald, he really struggled last year, but now they've got Carson Palmer, and I think that is going to help him. I think he's going to have a bounce-back season, play much better, and be one of them standout top 5 guys, but there's always that risk that Carson Palmer might struggle, might get injured, you never know. Then I'm going to move right on to defenses as well, because this is something huge. I mean, there are a couple guys on here that I really think will just be very good. I always like my Patriots defense. I think the Patriots, last year, I had them in a few key weeks. I would start them every now and then, but obviously, I don't think they're one of the top 5 defenses. I definitely don't think that. ESPN has them at 7. I think that's pretty generous. I think that's probably fair for them, but, I mean, hey, They can get it done some weeks. I think they're going to be much better at turning the ball over, getting these turnovers that you need. That's one thing that the Seahawks have. They're the top defense, no question about it. The 49ers, they're definitely 2. They're definitely a solid 2. But if you can get one of those couple teams, obviously it says right around here they're ranked around 100 overall. That's pretty fair. But I think there's a lot of good defenses out there. I think the Dolphins are going to have a better year on defense. The Giants, I'm not really too sure about them. They're kind of shaky. The Rams, I'm shaky on them as well. The Steelers are always a top quality defense. The Broncos, they're going to be without Von Miller for, it was 4 games. Now people are saying 6 games. That's going to hurt them. He's a big leader on that clubhouse team. So, I don't know about them. And I've never been a Houston Texans fan, but I think they've got a quality defense as well. So, those are just my thoughts. Kickers, pretty much, I mean, I'm not huge on kickers. There's Gutkowski, Blair Walsh. I mean, they literally have them listed in a row. It's pretty much a toss-up. I mean, Gutkowski is always good kicker, but he has missed some. He was off point at points last year. There were times where he would miss a couple of those 30, 40-yarders, and you really shouldn't be missing those. So definitely wasn't his best season. It just wasn't. That's all I could say about that, but definitely be sure to download this in the description below. I'll have the link to it. If it helps you out, if any of this helps you out, let me know down in the comment section what you thought. Always let me know what do you guys think are going to be sleepers for this next year. And if you enjoyed this, just let me know any feedback at all. I love feedback, and hopefully you did enjoy. Hopefully I can continue doing these throughout the season. Next week is my draft. If your draft is coming up soon, good luck. If not, get in a league and get drafting. They're so easy to get in these. I won't be doing any more leagues than I'm in. I'm in one league. That's it. One league guy. I said this before. That's just how I am. I don't like to be rooting for like 30 different players. It's too complicated, and it just gets way too much. But I hope you guys did enjoy, and as always, peace out.